Hello. So hopefully, there we go. Hopefully this time it's recording. Because I already did this whole tutorial thing and apparently it wasn't recording any sound, so we're doing it again. Fun stuff. Anyway, let us begin. So this time around we are going to look into animating with Blender. Why do I have Rhino opened up? Well, that's because we're going to use geometry from Rhino and we are going to animate it in Blender using Eevee. And it's going to be kind of an introduction tutorial, so nothing advanced whatsoever. So before we begin, I want to export my thing from Rhino. And I already, of course, have done these things, so I already have that exported geometry. But let me just show you how I do it so that you can do it on your own as well. Let me turn off the guide so that I only see the geometry. So the figure here is already a mesh, right? So I don't really need to do anything with it. Let me just create a new layer and call it mesh and change object layer and hide it. But for this object in general, I need to mesh it, right? So I'll type in mesh, choose some sort of a lower value for how many polygons I want, hit OK, wait for it to mesh my object. Once it's done that, I will deselect everything and I will type in cell mesh, short for select mesh, enter, and just right click on the mesh layer and change object layer, right? So now all of my meshes of that particular element, of that particular object, a mesh version of that particular object lives in the mesh layer. So now I can hide all of other layers and just have this one present. So then to export it, I just select all of the geometry, type in export, and here I'll just choose OBJ format, and I already have that, that export, so I don't need to kind of do it as well, but again, but you can, so you just give it a name, make sure that, for instance, here I don't want to save any textures together with the OBJ, so save textures, I would turn that off, hit save, you get your file, right, exported. Okay, so now that's all that we need to do in V-Ray, in Rhino. Nah, that's bad, right? Yeah, that's fine. So that's all we need to do in Rhino. Let me close that. And then we will continue working in Blender. So as you will load in Blender for the first time, or as you will load in Blender, you'll see the splash screen. We don't care about the splash screen, we just close it. And then you are greeted with default cube, default camera, and default light. We hit the A button. Oh, and actually, there's one thing that I need to do real fast so that you can see. Okay, so now here you will see what kind of buttons I press, right? So to select everything, I hit the A button. So everything gets selected, and I hit the delete key. Actually, can we, font size, can we like have font that's not that big? And also the offset that is not that big? 50, and let's do 150. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Right. So now we have deleted everything. A delete again. And now it's time to import our geometry, right? So I'll go to File, Import OBJ, wavefront.obj. I will go to my home or my desktop, find my file, hit Import OBJ. Easy. So it will eventually import. Yeah, there we go. It's imported, and I can see it right here, right? But as I zoom out or zoom in, it doesn't exist, right? It's not here. Why is it not here? That's because it's too big, right? And it's clipped off. First of all of the units that we used in Rhino don't matter here in Blender. They will be overwritten as if they were meters, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is Blender by default clips out everything that's at least 1,000 units away from 000. Meaning that if something is, and we were modeling in centimeters, remember that. So everything that was away by a meter from our 000 coordinates in Rhino is going to be not previewed in Blender, if that makes sense. So what we need to do is we need to press the N key, N. We need to go to the View tab, and we need to specify that the clipping end, how far away it's going to clip, is actually 10,000 rather than 1,000, right? Once I do that, I zoom out, I can see my object there, right? Great. So that means at least the object is there. There are a few problems with that object. First problem being, well, the object is there, its center point is right here. And I can see that by this orange dot. When I select the object, the element, that orange dot is here. Also, if I were to rotate R, if I rotate it, you can see that it's rotating around that, that center point. So that's not good. I need this object's center point to be, in the center of this object. So let us zoom into it. For me, I have a dedicated button, but if you don't have a dedicated button, it's under View, Frame Selected. That same thing as Zoom Selected for Rhino. So we zoom into this object, and we need to go into Edit mode. So to go into Edit mode, we press the Tab button, and now we're in Edit mode. I will click somewhere outside of the mesh so that I don't have anything selected in the Edit mode. And I will actually go to Polygon editing mode, not Vertex, because here it's the Vertex editing mode. I don't care about that. I need polygons, right? So I'll press 3. 3 means 3. 1 is vertex mode, 2 is edge mode, 3 is polygon mode, or surface, or face mode, whatever you call it. So I'll select one of the faces, and then holding down the Control key, I'll press plus, numpad plus, right? So I will grow my selection, plus. I'll keep growing it, right? So I grew it until the whole sphere is selected. And the reason why I do it this way is because I know that the sphere is right in the center of my object. So it makes sense to use it as a center point, right? Or rather use the center of its mass as the center point for the remainder of the object, of the element. So I'll do, once I have all of it selected, I'll press Ctrl S. That is not Ctrl S. I'll press Shift S. Sorry, not Ctrl S, Shift S. And I will choose to add a cursor to selected, right? So it's going to average out a temporary cursor along all of the selected faces, right? So it's right in the middle. Okay, so I have that going on. That's great. And then I want this cursor to become the center of mass or the origin point for this object. So first things first, I will go get out of the editing, like the edit mode. So I just hit tab, that's easy. Then I will go to how's it called? I'll go to object, here in the top, object, set origin to 3D cursor. I'll do that. So now you can see that my origin of this element is located right here, right in the middle of the sphere. That's great. So that's first part done. Second part is, again, Shift S. Come on, Shift S. And then I want to move the cursor back to world origin. Like that. So the cursor is now at 0, 0, 0. And I want to move this object to the cursor, right? Shift S. Remember that I have this object selected, so Shift S, and then selection to cursor, but don't keep offset, but rather just selection to cursor. Right? Click that. There we go. Okay, so now it works. Now I want to rotate this object to the correct position. So our X around X-axis, I believe it's we're rotating it in a negative direction. Let's try 90. No, it's going to be minus 90. There we go. And minus 90, and we're good to go. And now let's fix some shading issues for this object, because here you can see everything is quite jagged, especially the lady. Right? All of the polygons are being shaded very hard. So I will select the object, right click, shade smooth. Right? So now everything's shaded soft. Well, the problem is that everything is shaded soft. That doesn't work for us, right? That's bad. We need some sort of a better way of shading. So I will select the object. I will go to object data properties, and I will choose normals, and here I can find auto smooth. I'll tick mark that, and 30 degrees usually works quite well. Yeah, 30 degrees seems to be working quite well, so I'll leave it at 30 degrees. That's all we needed to do. Okay, so we have our object kind of set up, right? That kind of works. Let us animate it, right? So I'll start by animating the object, and then we will do the camera and so on. So the first thing is, as you can see here, everything is joined into one mesh. So we need to separate it. And to separate it, we hit tab again, we go to the edit mode, we hit A to select all of the objects, and then we go to mesh, separate, and then we choose by loose parts. That's it. It gets separated. So now I can hit tab again, right? And now all of the parts are separate entities. So now it's time to actually work with them. So for instance, this guy right here, notice how I can find it in the top right corner. This guy, the main thing here, I will not be animating it, so I will just hide it for now. Don't need to see it. Let's fix the character, because I know that the helmet needs some fixing. So for instance, the helmet needs fixing, right? Because it's all different parts. So instead of just trying to select the helmet and not selecting everything else, I will just select the body and hide it. I'll select the bra and the trousers, and I will use Ctrl J. Is it Ctrl J? Yes, it is. Ctrl J to join. Ctrl J joins. And I will find them, and I will hide them as well. There we go. And then I will select all of the pieces of the helmet. Well, first select one of them, and then holding down Shift, select all the rest, and then Ctrl J to join them into one mesh, right? So now that's my helmet. I will hide it as well. Now we have a bunch of pieces here. So these are whatever. Yeah, I can just hide that one, hide that one, hide that one, select all of these ones. So the onion is going to be all selected, Ctrl J, then hidden. And all of these spheres are glowy boys. So I will select all of these spheres, Ctrl J, join them up, and hide them as well. Okay, so now I have all of the objects hidden. I could kind of rename them spheres, you know, and so on, but I don't care. So let's start animating it. So to animate it, you actually here in the bottom, you have the timeline, right? In this particular layout window, you have the timeline. So the timeline is basically, here you have the keyframes for every step of the animation. So for instance, since these spheres right now are not animated, when I select them in the timeline, it's empty, right? No keyframes are here. But if I press the N button, N, why doesn't it show that I pressed the N button? Hello? That was weird. Okay, but now it shows. Okay, so I pressed the N button and accidentally pressed the B button, so that's an escape. And there we go, finally. N button. I will go to item, and here I can change the location, the rotation, and so on. And why is the rotation weird? Rotation should be 0. Okay, so right now location and rotation are 0, 0, and scale is 1. That's great. That's what we want to see. We want to lock it as our first frame. But actually, before we do the animation, we need to decide, at least I prefer to first decide how many frames we're going to work with. So I'm going to work with 600 frames. The way you increase or decrease the amount of frames that you have in your animation is here on this bottom right corner. Start frame is 1, end frame is 250. No, it's 600. Enter. Frame 600. There we go. So now we have a time frame of 600 frames, and meaning that on frame 0 I can just lock it in place. I can either right click in this menu, I can right click and choose insert keyframes like that, or the shortcut for it is I, like the letter I. Okay. So when it's yellow, it means that there's a frame that is set there, and you can see that frame right here at frame 0. Oh, you can't. That's because of my face, but here now you can see it. So that's the frame here. Let me move my face back, or actually, can I move it here? No, I'll keep it like. Let's do it like that. There we go. Okay, so now you'll be able to see to see the keyframes. So when I have now this guy selected, I can see the keyframe. First keyframe here, and actually if I now drag along the timeline, nothing happens because there's no second keyframe, right? So it doesn't animate, it doesn't change. But for instance, I can say that it should move up and down, right? It should move up and down. So in the first 150 frames, it moves up, right? So I'm at frame 150 here, and I will just say it moves up in Z by 0.2. 0.2 meters. Why is 0.2 so small? It almost didn't do anything. GZ. Oh my god, that's so... Oh, right. Sorry. before we do anything, we need to scale everything down to the correct size. Because remember where when I said that everything that we did in centimeters, Blender understands it as if it was in meters. That's a problem. Everything is 100 times too big. So I will select everything in my scene. I can just hit A, and then I will press S and type in 0.01. That's 1 to 100, right? 100 times smaller, suddenly centimeters do become meters. Okay, or vice versa. Meters become centimeters. View, frame selected to frame it again. Okay, so now this should work. Let me hide everything again, like that, and let's animate these spheres. So frame 150 again. Frame 150, and I will see that Z will move 0.2 meters, right? You can also do it just like this, is selecting the spheres and just actually moving them. That's fine as well. You know, G enters, Z enter, or GZ will move it along the X, GY will move it along Y, GX will move it along X. But here I just wanted to move up by 0.2. Give it a keyframe, that's it. Giving it a keyframe is I. Why do my screencast keys not work anymore? Hello? Show last operator. Okay, let's try again. Not again, but let's try with this setup. So now it moves. So now I want it to move down, right? So if in 150, from 0 to 150, it moves up by 0.2 until 450. I want to move. I want it to move down by 0.4. So that would be negative 0.2, like that. Hit I. Oh, cool! That even kind of explains the operation that took place. Is there like a display time? Yeah, that's 5 seconds. Let's do 10 seconds so that you kind of have the time to read it. Okay, so we have that now. So it goes up, down. And now at frame 600, we want it to move back to its original position, right? So here Z is going to be 0 again. I, perfect. Added keyframes. So now it's kind of Okay, and since we kind of come back to 1, not 1 to 0, like to the original position, it can be looped now. And this is going to be the name of the game for everything that we do. This animation, we want it to be able to loop. Okay, so now once we have that done, I will say rotation, right? So at 0, 0, 0, the rotation is 0, 0, 0. At 300, the rotation should be, let's say, 360, 290, and 123 in Z. I don't know, random value. I have a plan, right? So now it's going to kind of and then just kind of keep quiet. But at frame 600, it should kind of zero out again. 0, 0, 0. I. Let's see. Looks good. Okay. Actually, let me increase the frame rate, because right now it's running at 24 frames per second, and you can increase the frame rate here in the Output Properties tab. Under frame rate, you can choose 60, right? So it's going to be faster and smoother at the same time. Wow, wow. Cool. Okay, so we have that done. I am rushing because I want, to do it all. So let me find the onion. Yeah, there we go. That's our onion or our bananas, whatever you call them. And I will hit I for this, for location and rotation. Then for 600 degrees. For Z, I will just give it 720. Right? So it doesn't move, it just rotates. Let's see how fast. That seems okay. I notice that ramping up as I start the animation. That's not good. I don't want it. This is going to be an advanced thing, slightly advanced thing. So feel free to skip it, but I think it just helps. While having this selected with these two keyframes, I will go to the animation tab, and in the animation tab, I will click on this. Can you see it? Yeah, you kind of can. Wait, let me help you out. There we go. I will click on this icon, and then I will choose Graph Editor. There we go. Graph Editor, which will bring me here. I will hit Normalize. And here I will just see these two buttons with a bunch of, two dots with a bunch of handles. So I'll just right click anywhere, not anywhere. I will right click on one of them, doesn't matter which one. I'll go to interpolation mode and I'll choose linear. So right clicking, interpolation, linear, click that, that's it. What it does is, oh yeah, and I should turn on my, hello? Hello, come on, you can do it. Ah, there we go. How are we doing on battery? It's going to die soon. That's fine. We'll use the other camera. So, now with the interpolation mode on, or not interpolation, linear interpolation on, it doesn't ramp up in speed. It always has a constant speed, right? So this is looped now perfectly. Okay, let's move on. This guy. I'll just add random rotation for him. Doesn't really matter. So I'll just I here, and for 600, I will just say, please rotate 360 degrees here. It needs to be a multiplication of 360 degrees, right? 360, 720, 0 in Z, or let's go for 360 in Z. Yeah, that looks good. I think that looks good. Okay, next one. This guy is gonna be very easy. I just wanted to kind of rotate around y-axis. So just rotation around 600. Around y-axis, I want 720 degrees. Wait, wait. That's 180, that's 360, that's 180, that's 360. Okay, that's too much. Or is it? Let's see how it looks like in the. And that's fine. That's actually fine. Okay. Next. This guy right here. Frame 600. Let's do 0 here. Let's keep it at 0 here. 360, 720. Okay. Yeah, I think that looks cool. So for this one, I will also do linear interpolation. For this one, I will do linear interpolation, and for this one, I will do linear interpolation. Wait, can we do it in the layout? Maybe that's going to be better. Keyframe type, handle type, interpolation mode, linear. Maybe it helps. I don't know. We'll see. You can right click on the timeline basically and choose interpolation mode, linear. That saves time. Okay, next. That's the big boy. We don't care about the big boy. That's bra and panties. That's the helmet. That's the body. That's the big boy. Okay, so that's done. That's done. Everything else is static, so we don't care. Okay, so that's good. Now we can move on. Let's create a backdrop, a plane, for this thing to stand on. So I'll do Shift A to create a new thing. I'll go to Mesh and choose Plane. Then I'll click on this icon right here to get to the front view, or is it a side view? One of those side views. GZ to move it down. My camera just died. Let me turn on this camera instead then, and hide this one. Okay, we continue. So GZ, to move it down, S to scale, S. There we go. So it's scaling. We don't need it to be that too big, but something like this should do the trick. E to extrude. No, sorry, we need to be in edit mode to extrude, so I will go to the edit mode and E to extrude, something like this. S to scale it out. So I'm making like a bowl. Yeah, I think that's fine. So I'm making a bowl. Then delete faces to just get rid of that face, and I think that's good enough. So I'll go out of the edit mode. I'll go into the modifier properties tab for the plate, and I'll actually, you can either go with bevel or with subdivision surface. I'll just add a subdivision surface here, just increase the amount of subdivisions to something like that. Oh, I'll need to move it down, I guess, but that's fine. We will move it down, or maybe I should keep it as a, no, okay, let's do a bevel. Bevel. Let's do 14 segments or 12 segments, something like that, and then mess around with the corners. Maybe wireframe view will help better. So corners, and let's just see offset. Yeah, that's a good bevel, I think. Come back here. Yeah, that seems good. That seems good. I can just scale it up a bit. Yeah, I like it. So we have a base plane. It's not the prettiest though, so let me go for, after beveling, let me use weld on it. And then, so weld modifier gets rid of all of the duplicates. And also let me use subdivision surface modifier, just subdivide it one time, right click on it and shade smooth, to make sure that, everything is kind of smooth and neat and tidy. Okay, we have this done now. If I play the animation, it kind of looks like that. I think this is, it's nice. probably shouldn't eat during a tutorial, right? Oops. Anyway. Let's create a camera and animate it. So I'm going to show you how to do it in two ways. One way is the regular, move the camera, give it keyframes, animate it that way. The other one is going to be constraint related. So I'm going to start with the one that's constraint related because that's going to be the main one that we're going to use. And I'm going to, first of all, create a camera, right? So Shift A, camera, creates a camera. And you can't really see it, but it's there, it's there. Then I will press the N button to get into its transformation information. And I will zero out all of the rotation. I don't know what I pressed, but it freaked out. But basically, 0 meters, 0 degrees for all of the inputs of the camera. Okay, so we have that going. Then I need a path for the camera to follow. And for a path, I will also Shift A, create a new, it's going to be circular, right? So I will go to Shift A, curve, circle. I'll create a circle and I will scale the circle outwards to a certain extent. I will kind of dial it in later. So now this is scaled and now this camera needs to be going along the circle. So how do we do that? Well, we select the camera, we go to Object Constraint Properties, that's the one that looks like I don't even know what that is, but Object Constraint Properties. Add Object Constraint, and you choose Follow Path, right? Well, this is a path and we follow it, right? So Follow Path Relationship. Follow Path. It will ask you to give it a target. So basically, it says give me the path to follow for the camera. So I will take the pipette tool and I will select the circle. You can also take the pipette tool and select the circle from this list here. That's fine as well, right? So now the camera immediately gets located on the circle. But as we move the slider, we can see that it's not following it. Why is it not following it? Because we didn't press the Animate Path icon. So once we press Animate Path icon, now it's following it. Right? Quite fast as well. Right? It's a fast boy. Okay, that's one thing. One thing then. The problem then is that it's looking downwards. Always looking downwards. We want it to look at the object, right? At the center of the object. So what we're going to do is we will say one more constraint, add object constraint for the camera. Add object constraint, and this time I will say track to. It's basically look at, right? Track to, like this. And target, again, I will take the pipette tool, and this time I will choose spheres as my target, right? So I'm trying to look at the spheres, always. Once I chose the target, you can see the camera doesn't give a shit, doesn't care, but there is a dashed line. That means that it is trying to look at it, it's just the settings are wrong. And the correct settings are 2. Like in the track 2 settings, the correct ones are 2 minus Z here, and up needs to be Y. Questions? I don't care if there are any questions. This is just how it works. Don't ask. Okay, so now once we move the camera, you can see that it kind of moves around the object. How do we see what the camera sees? Well, we press the camera icon here, right? So now we see what the camera sees. If we press play, it shows, right? Super fast. We need to make it slower. How do we make it slower? There are no, even though my camera, let's say, is selected, there are no keyframes. If my curve is selected, there are no keyframes. So there's no way to speed it up or slow it down. Well, there is. In my path, my Bezier curve, I can call it camera path. In my camera path curve, I can go to its settings here, curve, right? I'm clicking on this icon, going to its settings. Here I see path animation. I can expand it, and for the frames, I can choose how long does it take to move from the start point of the curve to the end point of the curve. So here I will choose 300. That's too fast. I will choose 600. Yeah, that's better. 600. And now it's time to dial it, kind of dial it in, right? So let me do one thing that I think is quite is going to be quite useful. I just don't remember where it actually is. Give me a second. Oh, sorry, that's the curve options. No, I need the camera options. Viewport display, no. Custom properties, no. Safe areas, no. Camera, no. Viewport display, then. Yeah, viewport display. Passport. Passport out. I don't know. This guy right here. Opacity 1. So that it doesn't show me anything that the camera will not see. I think this is important. Okay, so that is done. Next thing is I need to kind of dial in where the camera actually, how it moves and where it moves and so on, all of those things. So for that I need an extra window. And to create an extra window, see where my mouse is? Hello, mouse is here. When I hover my mouse over here, the cursor changes to a cross. If I click and drag to the, okay, I need this to be paused then. Click and drag. If I click and drag, I can create a second viewport. If I want to merge these viewports together, I can right click in between them and choose join areas and just choose which one is the dominant one and join them, right? So again, click and drag, create another viewport. This one I will just rotate, holding down the scroll wheel, rotate out of the camera view. So this is going to be my editing viewport, and this is going to be my animation preview viewport, right? Like that. Okay, so now let's edit it, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do is edit the curve. First of all, I don't want to just look at stuff from, like straight up. I want to move it up slightly. I can kind of do this, move the camera path like so, but I don't want to do that as well. I just want it to be slightly up, just like that, and slightly, just ever so slightly scaled up. And then I will go to edit mode, for that matter, and I will say, as we move through this point here, and maybe even, yeah, sure, as we move through this point, it should raise up a bit. And see how it's going to, whoa, it changes the angle now. It's very soft. I don't think you need to be, you know, too rough with it, but it does change the angle. Maybe we can make it a little bit more. Okay, so that's cool. Tab to exit the edit mode. Our camera path is done. Now, let's do some lights for our scene, right? Or maybe I should show you another way of how to do a camera. Yeah, let's do another way. So to do a different variation of animating the camera, I will create a new camera. First of all, Shift A, camera, GZ to just move it up so that I can see it. And I need to make this my active camera, because right now the old one, this one is my active camera. So I need to make this my active camera. So see here, this is, I can call it the first camera. I will just rename it to camera 360, while the new one is, I will name it camera walk around. I don't know. Camera walk around, right? So see, next to the cameras, we have this kind of green icons here. The one that is highlighted means it's the active camera. So I can highlight this icon here, and suddenly this view changes to the new camera. So I can switch between cameras this way. So let's say camera walk around. That's my camera. And I can do, you know, I can kind of animate it, or rather I can move it around with G, short for grab, and just kind of move it. GX, move it along X, GY, move it along Y, and kind of create these, GX again, kind of create these, how do you call it? Keyframes in doing so, right? So I just position the camera where I want it, and I create keyframes. Cool, I can do it, but a more convenient thing for me is, while it's still in camera mode, I go to View, Navigation, and I choose Walk Navigation. And then I use this as a video game camera, right? WASD for movement. And thus what I can do is I can just say, okay, this is going to be my starting point. And I will just say N to open up the location rotation thingy. And I'll just say I to create a keyframe here for this new camera. Then I will go to, let's say, 150 frames, like frame number 150. I will go to View, Navigation, Walk Navigation again, and just find a cool angle. Let's see, something like that. Punk. Something like that. Right? And then again, I. So now if I look at it, right, kind of creates this positioning from here to here. And I don't like how it positions, for instance, here, that it, you know, nothing is in the frame. That kind of sucks. So what I'm going to do is I'll say, well, actually, at this frame, I still want View, navigation, walk navigation. I still want you to look at the sphere, right? I. So now it's going to keep looking at the sphere, and then it just kind of starts turning afterwards. And same thing, you know, frame 250, view, navigation, walk navigation, WASD, like that. Let's check. Yeah, that looks good. Like that. And then frame 300. GZ to move it up a bit, like that. I. So somewhere here, right in the middle, I wanted to, oops, no. I wanted to still keep looking at the lady. So that's good, that's better. And then the final one is to zoom out, and that's actually very easy to do. So let's say until frame 400, it's going to keep zooming out. So the way we do it is G, Z, Z. So when you press Z the second time, it's going to go along the axis of the camera. Right? Something like this. Okay. So now let's look at the animation in general. The first camera, or rather the second camera. Something went wrong there. So it's looking here, and then it starts immediately looking there. So I don't like this this frame here. I don't know why it's tilting so much. So 278, I will change that it actually looks at the face. Alright. So now that's better. Okay, let's look again. That's way too fast. So I will move this keyframe to, oops. I will move the last keyframe to frame 400 so that now these three keyframes are happening way too fast. So I'll select all three of them and then, and then position my slider along the first one and type in S for scale, and I'll scale them up, right? So just like you would scale geometry, you can scale the keyframes up as well. Let's try again. Why does it keep missing the... Yeah, so that's good, and then it just misses it completely. No. You need to look up like so. Okay, let's try again. That, and then there is some sort of a small hiccup there. But it's much smoother now. Okay, so it's basically a lot of adjustments, right? With this, but you get what I mean. Yeah, there is definitely a hiccup there. Okay, so that's it about camera 2. Let's jump back and make camera 1, camera 360, our main camera, like that. So this is the one that we actually will be using. Right? Oh, and you can see camera 2 as well, doing its thing. Okay. Materials, I guess, right? Oh no, lights, sorry, lights. Time for lights. So first of all, let's let's turn on rendered preview, which you can do here in the top left, top right corner of your viewport, of any viewport. So I'll keep this as a shaded preview, as a regular modeling preview. And here I will change this to render preview. So everything becomes dark. And everything becomes dark. Actually, it's not completely dark because the sky is gray. And I want to change the sky to be black. Sorry. So the way you change the sky is you go to world properties, this red icon right here. And here for the background, you change the color to completely black. So now everything is completely black in our scene. There's no light. Okay, so since there is no light, I will create some. Shift A, light, area light. GZ to move it up. And I will do one thing, just like what we did with the camera. Let's say GX, I'll just move it away a bit. Same thing that we did with the camera, making it look at the object. I will do the same thing with the light. So I will go to object constraint properties, add object constraint, track to. So I'll choose to track and to always look at something that is, yeah, for instance, spheres, track spheres, right? You can see that the light is looking at the wrong direction right now. That is fine. We will change it and we will fix it the same way that we fixed the camera. 2 needs to be -Z, up needs to be Y. Now it's looking directly at the object. Okay, now let's go to its settings. So that's the green icon here. And let's change the power to 10,000, right? Let's make it strong. Strong light source. Power 10,000. I don't know why it's pulsing, don't ask me. And let's increase the size of it to something much bigger. Let's say 20 meters. 20 meters is a lot, I know, but it is going to be positioned a little bit further out. So let me select the light, GX to move it back in the X direction, GZ to move it up, so that it's going to shine behind the camera path, right? I don't want it to interfere with the camera path. And maybe it can be placed like that. I'm looking at this, right? This object. And then I will place a few more. Shift D to duplicate. I'll just place one here. And Shift D to duplicate again. I will place one maybe here. And this one is going to be the main one, so it's going to have the power of 20,000, like that. And it's going to have the color of wonderful magenta, sure, pink. It's going to be a pink one. So the secondary one, this one is going to be cyan. And it's going to stay as 10,000. And maybe the size of it is going to be 15 rather than 20. And this one is going to be something warmer. So orange-ish, kind of. Also stays at 10,000 and maybe is big. Okay, so now let's move them to... I want the orange one to be a little bit more horizontal, and I want the blue one to be a little bit more vertical, which doesn't help me. Somewhere here. Yeah, I think that's good. Oh yeah, that's nice colors. Okay, so we have the colors done, or the lights kind of done. Now it's time for, what do we do? Materials, I guess. It's time for some materials. The way you add materials in Blender is quite weird, but at the same time it's, it's okay once you get the hang of it. Let me start with the background, right? With the, not the background, but rather the bowl, right, that we have here. So the materials tab for the bowl is here, material properties, right here, where you can add slots, right? So in Blender, every object can have more than one material, like different materials applied on the same object. And then that has to do with vertex groups, it has to do with material IDs and so on. Technically in Rhino you can also have more than one object on a material, more than one material on an object. That's the correct way to say it. But in Blender, it's much more common. Let's say it like that. Because usually in Rhino, it's, you have separate objects for wood, for steel, for concrete, and so on. They are just separate objects. Well, here they can be the same. So that has to do with material slots. Here, this plane doesn't have any material slots, so I need to add one. Well, actually, I can add as many as I want, right? But I don't need like 4 slots. I will only have one material here, so I just create one slot. And that's this plus button here. So this is an empty material slot. For this to work, I need to create a material in that slot. So I'll then click on the new material. And then I will rename that material to ground material. And I will make it, just to show you, I'll make it red. Right? Becomes red. Cool. That works. So let me not make it red and rather make it darkish color, something like that. I think that is kind of nice. Yeah, I think that's kind of nice. So what kind of material do I want? Here I have all of the settings that I can choose from. Maybe I want it to be metallic. I can make it metallic completely. Oh, and I probably should kind of just run the animation for you to see better. Right? So metallic, sure. Does it need to be rough? No. If I turn off the roughness, you can see that it becomes kind of almost black, only where, it reflects the light will it show something. So I do want to have a little bit of roughness, 0.2. 0.25 maybe. Just maybe. Okay, so 0.25 seems to be okay. It's a good balance. Also, it's quite reflective, as you can see, right? But it doesn't reflect my object. So I need to fix that. And actually the way we fix that is not through here, not through the material itself, but it's through rendering settings. And let me talk about rendering settings for a bit, because this material as it is right now, I kind of like it, so I'll keep it. So rendering settings. They are right here, like the second icon in the row of icons that we have on the right hand side. And it's here we can change from Eevee to, like we can either use Eevee to render or we can use Cycles to render. So Eevee is non-physically accurate render engine, while Cycles is, but Eevee is much faster than Cycles. So Eevee is closer to Unreal Engine, while Cycles is closer to V-Ray. Question that I always get is Cycles better or worse than V-Ray? It's neither better nor worse. If you suck at cycles, but you're really good at V-Ray, your renders are going to look better, on V-Ray. If you're better at cycles, your renders will look better in cycles. There are no limitations in cycles. In terms of what you can do. There are maybe hardware limitations, but not software-based limitations that, oh shit, I can't do that because the software won't let me. Let me just choose it and show you. Cycles is a physically accurate render, just like V-Ray. Okay, let me come back, and this is how it looks like, right? This is how cycles looks like, and I can kind of rotate around, and here you can actually see the reflection of the element, and I don't get that in Eevee, and that's what I'm trying to get, right? So to get that in Eevee, I need to go to screen space reflections and turn that on. And once I turn that on, maybe increase the precision a bit. Yeah, everything else is good. So once I turn it on, there are reflections. It is going to show reflections for me, which is great. Okay, so now we have reflections. Yay. What else can we do here while we kind of investigate the settings? So render and viewport, these two sampling sliders are what's basically, you talk about quality with these sliders. In the viewport, it's set to be 16, so it's going to render out 16 samples and it's going to stop. So basically the quality is never going to be as good as the render. If you want to see the actual render quality, you need to amp it up to 64 and wait for it to kind of render it out. But for some reason, it keeps re-rendering for me, so I can't show you. That's fine. Let me jump to 8 samples. So it's even faster. When we play the animation, it only shows you the first sample, so don't be scared. So that's about it with sampling. I would never go beyond 256 samples in terms of rendering. I don't think that's necessary. Usually 128 for really high detailed renders is good enough. 64 for this kind of work is also good enough. Then we have shadows here. So I'm skipping a lot of stuff here. I'm skipping it because I don't think that most of the stuff is that important for what we are trying to achieve here, but shadows is. Notice how jagged the shadows are here. It's basically, it deals with the cube size of the shadow. So since it's not ray traced engine, it doesn't calculate the shadows correctly or accurately, so it needs to deal with resolution, right, as it's trying to calculate the shadows, and the resolution is 512 pixels. If I amp up the resolution to 2K, the shadows become much nicer. Well, not all of them, but most of them become much nicer. Cascade size, I'll also have it as 2K, just in case. You'll see, once we render it out, it's actually going to be a really nice really nice scene. Indirect lighting, we can increase the cube map, but no, I will keep the cube map as a default. That's whatever. That's fine. Okay, so we have basic rendering done, not rendering, but basic setup done for the background. Now for the element itself. I will, how do we do this? I'll actually go to this view here. I will select I will start from the helmet. So I'll select the helmet and I will go to the materials tab, and I'll see here in the materials tab of the helmet that the default object is selected. And this is blinking, it's annoying, so I will change this to shaded view. There we go. So here this helmet is right now, it has default OBJ material. So I'll just click on the minus sign to remove it, and click on the plus sign to add an empty material slot. Click on the new button there, and I'll call this helmet. So material for helmet. Base color, please black, almost black, something like this. Metallic, yeah, definitely metallic. Why do? Oh, there we go. Metallic and roughness, less roughness. Yeah, I think that kind of works. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so that's that. Then for the body of the lady, again, remove the material, add a new slot here, create a new material, call it body. Base color, I will say, I did red before. I think red looks kind of cool. Pinkish red looks kind of cool. What if we do slightly metallic? No, slightly metallic is bad, but maybe if I turn down the roughness, you know, make it more glossy or clear coat. No, clear coat looks bad. Okay, sorry, I'm now trying, like I'm starting to experiment. So I'll turn down the roughness to 0.33 so that it's somewhat glossy. I think that looks good. That's it for the body. Then for the trousers, I actually wanted to kind of use the trousers and the bra to show you a few tips and tricks on how to work with materials in more depth. So here under default object, I will remove the slot, create a new one, create a new material, and I will call this material cloth. And then just to show you, under shading, when I still have this object selected, under shading, I can come in here and I can say, you can see what I see, right? This is like grasshopper. You create materials through nodes. So here I have my material output, which is basically going to show whatever I plug into it, right? So for instance, what would be an example? Let me disconnect this. So this is now material output doesn't have anything, so it shows stuff as completely black, right? If I do Shift A in this view, Shift A, and I choose, for instance, let's go for input. What's wireframe? Let's see wireframe. Oh, but wireframe only gives me a factor. Oh, that's actually good. Okay. Before I do anything with different nodes, I will just show you Shift A, search color ramp, enter. This guy right here, without the spacebar, by the way, color ramp. I will plug in the color of the color ramp to my surface input here, like so. See, middle gray. But if I change the factor, I can go between white and black, right? So basically color ramp interpolates between two colors. Nothing too fancy. But then we can become fancy, right? We can say, where was that wireframe? We can take the wireframe and we can say, connect that to the factor. Okay, that doesn't work. Hello? Why are you so small? Pixel size? Oh, there we go. Okay. So now our color ramp is being controlled by the wireframe, and we can make it thicker or thinner depending on what we want, right? So that's the edges of the mesh. That's cool. Unnecessary though. What we want actually is Shift A, search Fresnel. F-R-E-S-N-E-L, Fresnel. Fresnel, and factor, we connect to the factor here, and it gives us this, this output, right? Which basically is a reflection map where it gives us the black color according to, if we're looking at an object directly, it will give us the black color. If we're looking at it from an angle, it will give us the white color. If we change the index of refraction of Fresnel, like that, it's very finicky, but we can control the, let's call it the glossiness. It's not really the glossiness, but we can control the glossiness of the material. So which means that here I can then go and say, wherever I see black color, it actually should be, wait, hello, RGB? Hello, I want a color, please. Yeah, there we go. Wherever I see black color, it should actually be, it's a nice one, like that, darkish blue. Nah. Red. Nah. Pink. No. Black. Ooh, okay. Even darker blue. Yeah, that's good. Darkish blue color. Wherever I see white, it should be. So I click on this white icon here. Wherever I see white, it should be pinky or greenish blue, whatever you want, right? But it should be brighter, right? So now it's going to do this bling bling thing, right? That's good. But the thing is that it's completely flat. It's still just you know, just two flat colors being interpolated with each other. So we need to bring back this principled BSDF material here that we kind of disregarded from the start. So color, I'll plug it into base color, and then I'll plug in the material to actual surface so that it inherits. You can see here, it inherits, you know, the shading and all of these settings of it being, it having specular reflections, it being having roughness and so on. And actually, let me change to rendered viewport to just see what I get. It's not that bad. Maybe IOR could be a bit better. A bit stronger. That's good. And I actually want the roughness to be higher. Not that high. And the blue color, should be a little bit more intense. Like that. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay, I could, you know, spend a lot of time polishing it, but we don't have the time. Okay, so now here, let's see what else we can do. So roughness seems to be around kind of okay. I just want the one last thing, which is going to be like this roughness map here. So the close need to have some sort of a like a bump map, right? So I will check out, are there any like noise texture? Okay, oops, no, not into vector, just noise texture, and color goes in here. I just want to see if there is a noise texture, and I change the scale of it. Okay, it's gonna do that, but I want just 2D noise, not 3D. I want 1D noise. Apparently I want 3D noise, I didn't even know that. And it has factor, so what if we do Shift A, input, or rather search color ramp again, like that. Factor goes into factor, color goes into material output preview. Okay. So now we have like a decent noise, which we should be able to control it by sliding these two sliders and increasing or decreasing it. That's good. Then we have distortion, which is, ooh, that's kind of like that. That looks cool. Okay, let's have it like that. So we will be using this noise not as a color. We will still be using the original color as the color, but we will be using this noise as a displacement. Maybe. Ooh, that's intense. Okay, so maybe not displacement. Let's see. Can we do normal? That's the first question. Or does it need to be all about displacement? Maybe the cartoony thing is kind of okay. I don't want it to be like that, but I think that might be just a-okay. Okay, instead of displacement, we will just take this color, and we will Shift A, search, add color. Hello? Okay, that's not that. Let's see. Converter, shader to RGBs, math, clamp, color ramp, combine. No, not combine. Sorry, just give me a second. Input. That's definitely not there. Shader, that's not. Mixed shader, maybe? Mixed shader? No, that needs a factor. Oh my god, come on. Actually we can use mixed shader. Yeah. Let's use mixed shader. Okay, so mixed shader. And we will be using this guy as a factor to mix between this shader right here and another shader. So let's just create another shader. Input, or rather shader, and let's just say diffuse BSD of this like the most basic shader that there is. That should work. Yeah, that works. Just a little bit of roughness. Okay, so now let's clean it up and just let me explain what I did. So here we have the initial color of the main shader. Then we have, this shouldn't be connected to normal anymore. Then we have a second shader, which is just basically a black color. And then we use this noise map with color ramp to control the pattern, right? So now I have the possibility to actually change this into, into red, for instance, and then have it like that. But I will not. I will keep it as dark. Can we do green? Yeah, we can do green, sure. So I'll have it as dark green. Okay, that's it. We're done with that one. So that is our material. Come on, that is our material here. Let's come back. Way too much time spent. Let's not spend so much time on everything else. So now this object right here, I will remove the material slot, create a new material slot, create a new material in it. I'll call it shiny metal is good metal. Give it a base color of like bluish, somewhat blue, metallic, full-on metallic, roughness 0.3. That's a little bit too much. 0.4. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that looks good. And then let me start hiding them so that it's easier for me to select stuff. So now this will need to have shiny metal is good metal material. This one also shiny metal is good metal. Notice how you click on this icon here to choose the material. Yeah, life hack. Shiny metal is good metal. Okay. And the last one are these spheres, and these spheres will have a different material. So I will remove the material slot, create a new one, create a material in that slot, call it glowy boy, and here instead of principal BSDF material, I'll click, and these are all of the different types of the materials that you have available for you. I will choose emission material, which means it's going to glow, it's going to produce light. Emission, and I will immediately give it strength of like 50, something like that, maybe even more. We'll see, depending on how it's all gonna look like. Now let's go for a full 100. So 100, play. Yeah, that's good. And then for its color, I will choose orange-ish, kinda. So it's not really orange, right? And it's not really orange because it's too intense, but I believe we will get orange out of it if we go to render settings here, and we choose bloom. Ooh, yeah. We get orange, that's for sure. Let's see what else gives out bloom. And that's a little bit, yeah, that's a lot of stuff that gives bloom, so I will kind of cut it down a notch. So intensity, I'll push it down a bit. Radius, I'll push it down as well. Let's say 5, radius of 5 should be okay. Threshold 1, 2, 3. Oh my god. Okay, so the spheres are definitely too intense, because with threshold of 3 they should almost not have any bloom. So let me select the material, go to material and change the strength to like 50. Yeah, that's much more reasonable. Okay, so we have a glowy boy there. Maybe we can now mess around with the bloom again. So threshold, let's say 2, and intensity a little bit higher, so that it really looks like it's a glowy boy. Yeah, okay. Let's have it like that. Then, what else do we want to do with it? We have that. It does glow. We can make it blink. Just to quickly show you how to make it blink is you basically select your spheres, that you want to make them blink, and you go to rendering, not rendering. You go to shading. Navigate to them, and here where it says strength, you need to choose Shift A, input, and you choose number or value, right? Value, plug that one into strength and just give it a value of 50, right? So technically nothing changes, but now you can animate this value, right? So coming back to layout, when you click here, the strength is set to value, which is a slider here, which means that now you can say, let's say at frame 50, you have, or rather at frame 0, the value is 50, then at frame, let's see, every second, let's say it blinks every second. Right, so then at frame 60, it's going to still be 50, right? So I will create I will create a frame here, and I will create a frame here with value of 50 for these guys, and then at frame 61, it should become 0, and then at frame, let's say, how long does it keep turned off? Let's say it keeps turned off for between frame 61 and frame 70. No, that's a little bit too long. 61 and 60. 61 and 69, nice. It's going to be 0. And then frame 70, it's going to come back to being 50. Okay, so we have our blinker. Boop, boop, right? So that's one blink. If I zoom in here, I can see, exactly the frames, and actually let me expand the summary here. Oh, you can't see it, but it is here, so let me expand it, and here I can see object transforms and also glowy boy. So glowy boy is the, let me make it like so. So glowy boy is the material, so I'll expand that material, and now I can see only the keyframes of that material, which means that we have one beep beep beep, right? I want more beep beeps. So how do we do them? In general, it took 70 frames to do a beep, like a blip. So that's too fast or too slow. I want it to be every second. So I'll press G to grab it, and I will move it to frame 60. And then I believe I can take these guys, Shift D, and move them to frame 120, right? No, they need to end at frame 120, like that. Yes. Okay. And now, in same logic, I will select like 2 bleeps now, Shift D, and then they will end at frame 240. and then I will take 4 blips like that, Shift D. They will end at frame 480, right? So let me find, yeah, there we go, Shift D, 480, that is where they end. And one more time, 480 plus 240 is 720. Okay, so Shift D, these guys will end at 720. Okay, that's fine if you have some whatchamacallit, keyframes after the animation. That's whatever. Okay, let's take a look at it. Blip, 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 blip. So now we have a pulsar, right? Might be a little bit annoying though. Too much stuff going on already. So I just wanted to show you that you can make the material blink, right? The light blink or whatever. You can animate anything in Blender. Okay, so we have all of this done. What else is there to do? Wait, I need to think. Okay, so we can do, well, first of all, I don't need the second screen anymore, so I'll right-click in between them, join areas, and I'll just make this one my main screen. Okay. Actually, I'm interested to see how the second camera walk around, how that one looks with everything being textured. Not great, not great. I ain't gonna lie, that's not great. This is much better. Okay, so now let's do some work with the camera. The only thing that I'm going to do is I'll say depth of field, I'll turn that on. I'll say that the f-stop is something ridiculous like 0.3. Definitely not 0.3. Oh, sorry, we need to focus on the object, right? We need the camera to focus up. So I will click the pipette tool and I'll find my trusted spheres. There we go. I'll find the spheres, click on them. Now it's focusing right to the middle of this object. And now f-stop 0.3 is not that bad anymore. 0.2 then? Like in reality, anything below 1.2 is ridiculous, right? But here we can kind of bend the rules a little bit and mess around with it. Don't do too much though. Blades, I will use 6 blades. Rotation, I will not use rotation. Okay, that's it. So this is blurring of stuff that's not in focus. I want to make the background a little bit more interesting, so I will select my plane and I'll go to shading, and here I will actually add a displacement map so that it's not just like a glossy piece. So for the displacement map, I will use Shift A, input or not input, texture. I will use a brick texture. And the color out of it, let's see it in the surface. Yeah, that's fine. That's something that's useful that I can use. So the texture color, let's first calibrate it, right? Offset. This is 0 offset. This is 1 offset. This is 0.5. You get the idea, right? Offset of the bricks. Offset 0. Then I'll start from the bottom up. Row height and brick width, I want it to be the same number, so I'll just give it 1, 1, so that it's like a rectangle. Then mortar smoothing, I will make it 1 so that it's all like the edges are smooth. I like that. Bias, I have no idea what that means. I'll just have it at 0, I guess. Color 1, color 2. So for color 2, I'll choose the same color as color 1. Because why not? Or maybe we can just, yeah, sure, let's have slightly different colors. Why not? And then we have scale, right? So scale is how many we will have. Oh, I have the scale of 250, maybe something like that. No, more. Let's do 500. Yeah, 500, something like that. That's the good scale. What else? What else? What else? So what's bias? Understood. So 0.5, or rather 0 means that it's going to be randomized. That's fine. We can have it randomized. How's the seam? The seam is weird, but we will adjust the seam, like the mortar size, we will adjust it later on with the displacement. Okay, so now I will reconnect my surface here. Ooh, nice shadow. Reconnect the surface here. And then I will connect my brick texture to the displacement map input. Like so. Yeah, that looks good. That looks real good. Let's make this a bit darker. This is fine. And mortar a bit lighter. Okay. The gap needs to be a little bit smaller. So 0.01. Yeah, that's a bit sharper. That's what I like. That's it. That's our displacement. Technically, displacement doesn't work that well with Eevee. It works well with cycles. Actually, I want to see how it's going to look like with cycles. Let me just quickly cycles. Yeah, you know, it looks fine. Looks fine with cycles. I'll change this to Eevee. Eevee is so much faster. Okay, so we have this going on, and we have a little bit of blurring, a little bit of glow, a little bit of this, that, everything. I think we're done. So it's time to save. You save the file just by going File, Save, right? You save the file, and then you go to the output properties. This icon right here. Click. You make sure that resolution is correct, as big as you want it to be. Aspect ratio is correct. Frame start, frame end, all of these are kind of correct. So animation starts here, ends here. Frame rate 60 frames per second in my case, and then output is where you will store those images, right? So here I will just say my output is in the desktop. I'll create a new folder and I'll call this animation blah blah blah. I don't know. Animation blah blah blah. That's my folder. Double click on it, hit accept. So my animation is going to be stored here. And file format, I really like to choose JPEG rather than PNG. PNG, I'm not sure about here, but in V-Ray, PNG doesn't transfer background information, so it transfers more background information. It keeps it transparent so that you can add stuff in Photoshop later on. I'm not sure how it works here with Eevee, but I'm not willing to risk it, so I'm just going to stick to what I know, JPEG, so that I get the background. It's going to be rendered out a series of images, and then you're good to go. So actually, let me render out a few, just to show you the quality, right? Because right now the quality is set to be 64. So let's go to, once you have all of it set up, the output set up, then you go to render animation. You click that. And it's just going to render. So that's first, second frame, third frame, fourth frame, Just renders it out like it's nothing. And I wouldn't say that the quality is bad. The quality is definitely not bad, not terrible. Of course, the material could use some more love, but that's whatever. And I actually have I have already done this, right? With the tutorial where I didn't have a microphone hooked up, or rather, I had a microphone hooked up. It was just the other thing. Doesn't matter. So I already have it, and I will play it right after this. This word from our sponsor, Patreon. Become a Patreon supporter. You'll get the files for free. No. End of tutorial. Thanks for watching, and have fun with creating animations of your own elements and your own assemblies of elements. I'll see you next week. Bye.